talking with business people, driving to work, chatting about cognitive functions. This video is about FI and TI in the second slot, which I think is a lot more informative or instructive for understanding how they work. Because my preferred way of putting it regarding stack order is your dominant function is your being function, and your second function is your doing function. So, and your third function is your whying function, your motivation function, your rewarding function. And your fourth function is your oh hell no function. So anyway, what are I talking about? Oh, right, yeah, second function. So look, this one of the reasons why I feel as though this is an additional reason why I think it's a good way to analyze it for me particularly is I am quite comfortable discussing TI as it exists in the second slot, since that's where it is for the ENTP. We are not thinking dominant, though we behave as thinky as any type. Because, why? A lot of times, a person will display, for most types, the person will display and identify more with their second function than their first. The exception being those who lead with TI. They will identify with their first function first. So if you were to ask me prior to learning anything about cognitive functions, what do you think my dominant function is, and you describe the functions to me, I would definitely have said TI. And if you were to read a transcript of a lot of my talking about stuff, you'd say, well, that person is obviously very TI heavy, but I'm really not in a lot of ways. And I am, but it's my doing function. It's how I accomplish things. So it's what other people see, and as a consequence, it expresses itself directly in ways that can be experienced by others, and thus, yada yada. So, in the second slot, I know somebody who's got a pair of an NI with his dominant function, my friend Corey, and I know well how it functions in that capacity. So, here's what I say about that is the difference is it aligns with NI and NE exactly, basically. They're made to go together. So, NE is a disruptive function. You want to disrupt on analysis, not on feelings. And to the extent that you do disrupt on feelings, you're being like an actor, right? So you've got a really limited scope of legitimate usages for disruptive feeling. It's not going to help you in your relationships, Andy, that's for sure. And I mean, not that disruption of any sort is going to necessarily help you in your relationships, but at least with a TI-focused disruption, it's disruption on a legitimate playing field, so to speak, that is legitimate within interpersonal relationships as well as time objects, so to speak, as making media kind of thing, or performing, or whatever. So, there's that. However, in contrast, the INFJ, who leads with NI and has FI in the second slot, those two are very well coordinated. Now here's the deal, how it expresses differently. It really does express along the lines of certainty and ambiguity, which is the INFJ, whose secondary function is introverted feeling, is deeply concerned with knowing the truth and intuiting it. The FI is a powerful weapon in the hands of an NI Dom because it means they arrive at values that usually and correctly withstand the assault of NE. I guess that is what you're talking about, Mega Bro. You know, I guess that's what you're talking about. They usually do. I mean, the values usually win if they're in conflict. However, it's important to remember this, that NE is capable of remaking reality in ways that NI never will eventually be swept up within as well. And I know this because I've had value conflicts with this INFJ before. And on a number of occasions he's been right ultimately. And my NE has had to turn inward, which is to say I have had to focus on the vulnerabilities in myself and what I'm saying and what it reflects about me and stuff like that. And there's been times when my NE has recreated reality such that even if his value had been initially true, even if his discovered truth had been initially correct, I remake the narratives and it becomes incorrect. This is the thing. NE can battle on the value plane as long as it's being discussed analytically, right? No problem. So, to the extent that the analysis is actually correct, and to the extent that the NE approach is driving towards a truth that's consistent with NI truths, then we can open up the NI user such that their discovered truths incorporate new discovered truths that were at some point more or less created or found inside of rocks that were broken apart, so to speak, by NE. So that's a good answer to Mega Bro right there. I still need to read your comment more. I start reading every few sentences and my NE just goes, boom. Let me start thinking about it already. But you didn't finish reading it yet, Eric. But he's already said 2 things. So hurry up and think about it. I'm NE. I don't want to fuck around with... You discovered something interesting here, Eric. Okay, well, maybe you should look at it for a little while. No, it's interesting. Do. What do I do? Think about it. But you haven't even finished looking at it. Man, I don't care. Just start thinking about it already. I'll finish reading it when I get home. Oh, I got an interview coming up this afternoon. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I mean, I'm interviewing somebody is what I mean, not I'm getting interviewed.